already indicated my apex. So I just need to find which part of the neck I want to move my dart to. So if I identify this area, then I am going to draw a line from that apex all the way to the neck. And then look at what I'm going to do. Once again, you cut this dart out like this. So you make sure your dart has gone out. I usually put the dart around so you see that it's been cut off. Then I continue the cutting all the way to my apex. Then now I'm going to cut from this area. When you cut this and you don't come all the way to your apex, you will have issues when you are trying to close. So always make sure after cutting your dart, you come all the way to the apex. And you cannot close. When you try to close, you have issues. You would need to cut this area before. So let me cut my area all the way to that point like this. Now, look at what I'm going to do. Just pay attention to the neck area. You know there's a dart here. So I'm just going to close that dart and you realize that the neck area is going to open up. So I'm just going to close. And yes, so it's been closed. Then I'll use the masking tape to tape it and you will see a new dart in the neck. So once again, just like what I did, you go and put it on a paper and you are going to trace everything. Then you draw your new dart. Just that when you are drawing the dart, you won't draw the dart all the way to your apex. Let's try it again. Let's just draw. Let's just say this was my design. I wanted to move my bust to my armhole and then my waist dart to my neck. So when you go and sew this design is going to come with a top that has a bust move to the armhole and then a waist move to the neck. Like I'm saying, we do these things for decorative purpose. When you're a designer, you just want to do things that you wouldn't see on a regular day. Because on a regular day, people have a bust dart and then a waist dart around the bust and the waist. So we just want to learn how we can move these things around and make it much more beautiful. So because I closed my waist, you realize that now the shape of the waist is a little bit rounded. So yes, you have to draw this way. You can take your skirt curve and then you draw it slightly curved by blending them or that area together. So I'm just going to draw like this. People prefer to draw it straight. It's just that when you draw straight, it affects you a little bit, but it's not really a big deal. If you want to draw it straight as a beginner, it's fine. But technically, such things are supposed to be drawn slightly curved. So I draw my center front and then I'll draw my neck all the way to this point. And then this is my dart, this is my dart. Now, like I said, you would have to measure from this apex point. Originally, your dart was not all the way to your apex. Your dart was a little bit away. So now that you have finished transferring, you must shorten the dart. So you measure about an inch. It is from ½ inch all the way to 1 inch. So I measure my 1 inch and then I draw from the neck area all the way to this point, and then from that point all the way to this point again. So I have a dart in the neck. You realize this place is closed and nobody will ever know after I finish that there was even a dart in the waist or the bust. So here too, you move in 1 inch and then you draw from that point to the tip like this, and then from this point all the way to the tip again. Then you draw your armhole to meet it, you draw your shoulder, and then you come and draw your shoulder again, and then your side is also drawn. Now when you finish, you just trace your grain line. The grain line is very important, so you trace it. Now when I take this thing off, nobody will know that I close something here and I close something here. They would only see bust dart in the armhole and then a dart in the neck. That will be the finished work. So look at the finished work, very beautiful, like this. So this is the finished work, so lovely. Now you can add your 5/8 all around. Now you realize that darts are always drawn with something pointed to it like that. So this one too, you just move up a little bit so it shows that it's a dart. And it also helps you when you finish sewing, you can cut that excess off. But when you draw it straight and you go and sew, you will be short of some fabric there. So it's better you always bring it out after the sewing, then you can now trim it off. So now we are going to add 5/8 all around like this. Maybe you want to cut this part on fold. So you now change from the straight grain to this symbol that shows that you'll be cutting on fold. Then your neck all the way like this. Now, right after sewing, you get the design again. So let's try cutting it out. To sew. Now to sew it, you will start by doing what? Okay, so we would have cut it on fold, so we will have another piece here. So I'm just going to hold my bust dart like this, and then I'll sew. Beautiful, like that. Then I'll sew all the way to the apex. Then I'll come to this point too, which is my neck. And then I'll sew the bust dart, the neck dart. Now, right after you sew, you realize that you now have the round neck that you wanted or you already originally had. So that is how it works. Whenever you move a dart to a place, the place will change because a dart has been moved there. It will look funny. But just when you stitch the dart, the shape you had or the original design will come back again. So this is the back. It's been sewn, so let's just turn to the front. So you are still going to get your cap and everything you were supposed to get. You realize that we now have that beautiful cap that you should be getting in your dress. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call dart manipulation. You can take your dart anywhere. There are no rules that says a dart should be moved here, a dart should be moved there. Let's try more dart positions. So for example, I want to move my dart to my shoulder, and usually there are no rules, but there are guidelines. If I want a dart in my shoulder, what is the closest dart I can move to that place? So there's a dart here, and if I want a dart in my, let's say, shoulder, it will be good to just move this dart to there instead of coming for this dart all the way to that place. So those are some of the guidelines. Now I want to move this dart to my shoulder, so let's try it. All I'm going to do is to find what? My apex first. And to find my apex as a beginner, I should always draw a line from here and a line from there. Then the center shows where my apex is. Then I'll find where exactly I want my dart to be moved to on my shoulder. So I'll draw a line from this point all the way to my shoulder. And then this is the dart I am moving to that place. So let's just pretend you didn't understand everything I did or any of the things I did. Let's start all over again. So I'm going to slash. You begin by cutting out this dart or slashing this dart out, the bust dart or the specific dart you want to move. So this is the dart I want to move. It's been cut off, and this is the piece that I just cut off. You throw it away, you don't need it. Now, you cannot cut a dart up to this point and leave it here. When you leave it here, you won't be able to close. And when you close, this part will raise like that. You will have issues. So you need to cut it all the way to your apex like this. And then now, this has been cut off. You've extended it to your apex. Where do you want to move it to? You must slash